Well, so FCA as an organization, our mission is to lead every coach and athlete in a growing relationship with Jesus Christ and his church. That we want to see each of these boys, whether they're currently in a faith environment or a family's in a faith environment or not, like we want to see you learn more and possibly start a bit of a journey in your faith. Embrace like my faith and starting to dive into scripture and trying to like live it out more. It was kind of cool the way like he began to transform like my mindset as a competitor, and my work ethic as well. Like I was no longer just in pursuit of results, but it was about the process now.
On today's episode of the 1% Podcast, we are excited to have Sean Rooney here with us. Sean is the club director of FCA here in the Boise area. He's a former professional baseball player. So we're going to be talking to Sean about all things family, baseball, growing up, getting drafted, going through the minor leagues process, and everything that's gotten him from where he started to where he's at today. So Sean Rooney, welcome to the podcast.
Cam, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. So our paths crossed about 5 years ago. I think when you guys were first kind of getting started here in the area with FCA, and we'd gotten invited to go to a fundraiser, and you guys were hosting at Daryl Strawberry there with you. And so it was the first time that I ever heard the name Sean Rooney, and it seemed like I kind of kept hearing your name around, and lo and behold, we're out riding our bikes around a few weeks ago with my kids, and you're visiting your in-laws, and turns out that they're my next-door neighbors, and so our paths crossed again, and I had to take the opportunity to invite you on the podcast. So glad you decided to come on.
Yeah, it is kind of fun how things come full circle, man.
Yeah.
That particular event too. I mean, I don't know if outside of that, how many people have gotten to hear Daryl Strawberry, dude, but like that was a
Super
powerful
inspirational.
night.
Yeah.
Dude, that guy's awesome.
Yeah.
His story is amazing.
Well, I grew up as a fan of Daryl Strawberry. In fact, it's funny, like I had a few pennants in my room as a kid, and I had a Daryl Strawberry one. And I don't remember if I got it like for a birthday or something along the way, as I was a little kid coming up playing Little League Baseball. But I had a Daryl Strawberry pennant in my room. And then obviously like, growing up in the 90s, I was a huge Ken Griffey Jr. fan. But, Daryl was kind of like in the, toward the end of his career, but was still a very good player. And those were, if you would ask me when I was a kid, who were my two favorite baseball players, it was Ken Griffey Jr. and Daryl Strawberry. And so
awesome.
When you guys had him come speak, it was a fun thing for me to get to go to. And very inspirational. So if anyone hasn't heard Daryl's story, like you can go online, look it up. I started doing a whole bunch of research after that event and listened to a bunch of his speeches, but yeah, he does an amazing job.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't know completely what we were going to get. I thought we were going to get a lot of like baseball stories from him.
Yeah.
But man, the guy is grounded in his faith and just kind of looks back at life, at all the lessons that, and things that he had gone through, so that he can help people like more in life necessarily than sports.
That's what I was kind of blown away by. Like I expected to be, heavy into baseball. I mean, former MVP and, all of his accomplishments that he'd had during his baseball career, but it was very little baseball and just all like faith and life lessons and just inspirational things that he picked up along the way and how his life changed. And he owns kind of his previous path and everything that he'd gone through leading him to where he is today. So yeah, that was an awesome event. I like to start off every podcast by getting to know the guest a little bit and allowing our audience to kind of get to know you. And so if you don't mind sharing with us what your life was like growing up, where you grew up at and your parents and siblings and family, what all that looked like.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I'll start by just saying, like married now, my wife and I have 4 kids. Life is crazy, obviously.
Yeah.
But originally from Orange County, Southern California, the city of Yorba Linda is where we grew up. And man, we were just a baseball family through and through. I'm one of 3 boys. I was the middle child. So shout out to all the middle children out there. Right. We're the awesome ones. But so yeah, like just a baseball family.
Was your dad a baseball junkie? Like what?
He was a junior college baseball guy.
Okay.
But just
loved the game
baseball,
and taught
baseball.
You guys
and not even necessarily like a crazy fan. Like he wasn't like watching major league games all the time, but loved the sport. Some of the hand-eye coordination that it took, some of the adversity you have to go through in it, but just found it as an awesome way to spend time with his boys.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he was introduced. We have like old family videos of him, with us on the tee in the backyard. But like family environment was really good. Like my parents had a really good marriage and were really intentional about how they raised us as kids and sent us to Christian school early on, just knowing that they wanted us to have that foundation in our life.
What did your dad do for work?
So he owned an electrical contracting business, but also was just like, man, was just always into real estate,
Okay.
buying and selling stuff, leveraging loans. And so the fact that I'm the kid in the family that's in ministry is probably nothing they ever would have expected. So,
yeah. And was your mom able to stay at home?
She
Did
was.
she work as well? Okay.
Yeah, my mom was stay at home. She was the taxi to all the practices and games and going like crazy. I mean, my dad coached all of us at different times as we kind of grew up through the Little League years. Actually, a fun moment was that my dad was the assistant coach of my older brother's 12-year-old Little League All-Star team that went to the Little League World Series in Williamsport.
Oh, cool.
So, which is kind of like if I look back, was like a aha moment for me when I kind of saw, like baseball outside of like major league games, right?
Yeah.
My older brother in like a stadium, 5,000 people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hype around the
What year would this have been approximately?
1995.
95. Okay.
And so some things have changed in the Little League World Series now. Like back then, there were only 4 U.S. teams that made it and 4 international teams.
Yeah.
There's a lot more participation in Little League too. Obviously, the club sports scene has pulled a lot of kids out of rec. So it was a really fun journey. I mean, those guys had to win a lot of games to get that far.
Yeah.
And like I think half of that team ended up going and playing Division I baseball. So,
Wow.
so I was just kind of exposed to that at a younger age, watching my big brother. I'm like, man, I want this. I want this. So,
And was he a catcher as well, or what position did he play?
No, my older brother was an infielder.
Okay.
Yeah. So, my dad was an infielder as well. So, like my older brother during the Little League World Series was played mostly second base then,
Okay.
but kind of went into high school as a shortstop. My younger brother was an infielder and shortstop, and I played a lot of infield most of the time. My transition to being a catcher wasn't until I like kind of dabbled in it late in high school years, and then didn't fully transition till my sophomore year of college.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, so when people ask like, "Are your knees shot?" It's like, no, actually, because I haven't caught my whole life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What kind of precipitated that change of position? I mean, obviously playing catcher is, arguably the most important position in baseball, and you're involved in every single play. Like what kind of, brought about that change of moving positions that late in your career?
Yeah. So, one, I think as I kind of got into high school years and I didn't project to be a really big guy, it was kind of like, hey, catching could be a good spot for you. I had really good hands, I had a good arm. And I think I just had a really good feel for the game. And so I started dabbling in a little bit in high school. Actually, crazy fun fact, one of the few games I caught my junior year of high school, there was a lefty on the mound that went to my high school. He ended up being a supplemental pick to the Dodgers. His name was Greg Miller. And Greg was just dominating high school kids at the time. And so I was the catcher who got him 4 strikeouts in an inning because I had a drop third strike. Guy reaches base. That counts as a strikeout. And then he strikes the next guy out. And I was like, dang it, man, I'm sorry. Like I ruined the perfect game. And he's like, are you kidding? I don't know if I'll ever get to strike out 4 guys in a game.
Yeah.
So I was still a pretty sucky catcher at that time. And then, I kind of got into so I spent my freshman year at UC Davis, kind of in the NorCal area. It's funny, side note, but I had offers it kind of came down to like University of San Diego by the beach, by the babes, right?
Yeah.
Or UC Davis, which is like California, rice fields. But my dad did introduce us to hunting. And so I loved to waterfowl hunt. And that Sacramento River Valley, all the rice is loaded with ducks and geese. I was like, I don't need the beach. Like I've grown up in Southern California. I want to go.
That's where I want to go.
I want to go hunt.
Yeah.
So anyway, so as I began to catch a little bit in high school, I was recruited to catch at UC Davis too, but didn't end up earning a starting spot there. And they had a returning junior coming back. I got to play the first half of that season, but became academically ineligible actually. Hey, first time on my own.
Sure.
I get to choose whether I go to class or not.
Yeah.
Mom and dad,
Yeah.
like they're not watching.
Yeah.
And
some of those lessons you have to learn when you're young. Yeah.
they do. Yes. Big time. And, although a lot of the guys were out partying and I did a little bit of college partying, it was more the passion duck hunt where I was up at 3 a.m, driving for an hour to get to a good duck hunting spot, hunting until 10 a.m. and then getting back and like, I'm not going to make class. I'm tired.
Yeah.
You
Just
shower.
take a nap. Yeah.
Yeah. So the college coach at the time actually recommended, he's like, hey, Sean, like the transition into college is pretty tough. He's like, you'll play your freshman year, but I do recommend you redshirt. And I was like, I didn't come here to redshirt.
Yeah.
My pride was, and still wrestle, of course, day in and day out with my pride. But I was like, no, I came here to play. I'm not wasting my time. Well, he was right. Became academically ineligible halfway through the year and lost the rest of that year of eligibility. And so in that process, ended up transitioning out of UC Davis. Just kind of saw like, man, if I have any shot to go to the pro level, it's going to be behind the plate. They had a returning guy coming back who to this day is a really good friend of mine. But just decided I'm going to transfer out. So transferred back to a junior college, Saddleback Community College in Mission Viejo. It was, that junior college conference is probably arguably one of the best in the country. A lot of guys start out at 4 years, maybe struggle academically or something doesn't work. They go right back in there. And so you're playing against Division I competition day in and day out. But it's kind of funny that like that fall, with a lot of the transition, like I went to Davis, came back, what the heck am I doing with my life? Just really started asking myself a lot of questions like, man, what's all this work in baseball for? I'm starting to have a little bit more of grown-up eyes. My dad's running a business, has been successful. What are the chances I play professionally? And I'll never forget, like I had lunch with my dad in fall of that sophomore year. And I was just kind of telling him, Dad, I think I'm kind of getting tired of the grind. And I really don't know where this is going to take me. So I'd rather start working for you, start learning the family business, find ways to make money, start like adult life. And so his response was super powerful. My dad wasn't like the most spiritual guy. Like he was a really good dad, good man. But like he said, Sean, I'm super proud of your realistic perspective, right? Because some athletes, they get so caught up in the dream of like, man, I got to get there. Or even if they have a taste, they'll just drag it out for as many years as possible.
Yeah.
And then just the transition to real life.
It's difficult,
It's
right?
really
Their entire identity gets wrapped up in it, right? And I
100%.
think that, not to go off on a slideshow here, but I think that's one of the things that I see happen more and more and more with some of these kids that get specialized into a sport at such a young age. Their entire identity is wrapped up into that thing, right? Whether it's baseball or football or dance or basketball or volleyball or whatever it is. It's like, that's the only thing that they are. And so that's how they see themselves as, I'm a baseball player, I'm a volleyball player, I'm a dancer, whatever. Yeah. And that becomes such a big part of their identity that they don't know how to let that go 100%. Because that's so much who they are. Their entire life has revolved around that. And so I'm a huge proponent and big fan of helping our kids to have other things that define who they are, right? Like their relationship with God, their relationship with their family, 100%. Their friends, people around them. Like you need to have other things that make you who you are. Like baseball can be something you do. It's not who you are, right? Like football or dance or volleyball, whatever. That can be something that you do. It can be something you love. It can be something you enjoy, but that doesn't define you.
Yep. 100%. That's spot on. And I feel like that was kind of where the crossroads was at. So that lunch with my dad, he said the words like, hey, Sean, I'm proud of your realistic perspective. But I tell you what, why don't you go out, like, don't quit right now. Just finish this year out, and then we'll have this conversation.
So you're like 19 years old.
Yes. Yep. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. As long as I'll just finish out, and then I'll come start working for you. But that drive away from that lunch. Oh, so no, he added the words, and this is like a pivotal point. He said, just go out and play like you have nothing to lose, and go finish strong. And I was like, okay. But as I drove away, those words just like, play like I have nothing to lose, right? Granted, and this is kind of where like the faith component, the identity piece really set in for me. Even though I'd grown up like in a Christian school and a Christian environment, for any of us to truly like take that knowledge and the facts of faith and God and scripture, and then actually then apply it and like live it out. I think those are two totally different things, right? And I feel like in that moment on the drive back, play like you have nothing to lose, like the fork was in the road for me. And it's either continue to play the way I think I know how to play, and it's performance-based, right? It's results-based.
For sure.
I have a good day, I'm a nice guy. I have a bad day, I'm a jerk, right? Yeah. Or truly like accept who I am in Jesus and my identity in God, and that God says, I love you regardless of your performance. Yeah. Like that's who you are. So those were the two options. And I was like, you know what, man, if his promises are true in Scripture, and he has the best, his interest for me is better, far better than my own. All right, let's do this. I'm going to trust you. So as I began to embrace like my faith and starting to dive into Scripture and trying to like live it out more, it was kind of cool the way like he began to transform like my mindset as a competitor, and my work ethic as well. Like I was no longer just in pursuit of results, but it was about the process now, right? Do all things heartily unto the Lord. So if I'm in the cage over there, no coach is watching, and I'm doing T work, every single repetition like can be excellent, should be in the pursuit of excellence. And so like all that began to like come together for me, right? The talent that I was blessed to have, a lot of the reps that I've gotten by just playing tons of baseball, and then now like the spiritual component, like it all came together. And I just had this crazy breakout year. I mean, I won the Triple Crown in that conference, led in batting average and RBIs and home runs. I remember having a conversation with my roommate because there were a couple of games I'd start off like 0 for 2, 2 strikeouts, and then finish, 4 for 6 with 2 bombs. It'd be like, dude, how are you so mentally tough? Like I changed from being a guy who after a strikeout would come into the dugout was just pissed.
Yeah.
And I was never like an equipment thrower, but like I was so pissed. And to like all of a sudden now I'm like, that at bat is relatively meaningless in light of eternity. And then also I got more bats are coming. So like that all mindset, the mental side of it, kind of with the spiritual, started generating some really cool results. And so my roommate was he was so frustrated. It's like, I don't know how you stay so mentally tough. So win the Triple Crown that year, became Conference Player of the Year, first team All-American in the California JC conference, league. And then met this babe that's like way out of my league. It's my wife now. So can always go, man, that had to have been God because she's way too good for me.
Yeah.
And then ended up getting drafted in the 8th round by the Nationals that year. And I was like, holy cow. I always have to be careful. Like as I get a chance to speak into kids, in ministry, as I share my story, it's like, hey, don't for one second think that just because you embrace faith and you decide to walk with Jesus, that, all your dreams
go away.
Yes. And all your dreams are going to come true in sports, right? Like that's not necessarily it.
Yeah.
But, as the story continues, like, I feel like that was just a really cool way for God and I in our relationship to build some trust together, because the road of life was going to be way harder than just a strikeout or an error or even my baseball career.
Yeah. One of the things that one of my favorite quotes is that making good choices doesn't make life easy, but it makes it easier, and it's like, everyone's going to go through hard things. Everyone's going to go through struggles and trials, but what do you have to help you and support you getting through those things? Right. And the fewer self-inflicted problems you can have in your life, like life's going to throw you plenty of problems. Life's going to throw you plenty of, nukes. Like you're going to have plenty of things you have to deal with in your life, but the fewer self-inflicted ones that you have, the better off you're going to be. And then just having, good habits, good structure, a healthy self-identity, a relationship with God that helps ground you to knowing like, okay, anything that happens is just a blip in, the span of eternity. And so like, I can get through this, right? Like maybe it's, I didn't play well today. Maybe it's, hey, this girl broke up with me. Hey, this thing didn't go the way I wanted to. I didn't get into the school I wanted to. I didn't make it on the team I wanted to. I didn't, get where I wanted in the lineup, or whatever that looks like. That we just see all those challenges differently, right? Another one of my favorite quotes is, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. Mm-hmm. And, the impact that having our mindset right, having the way that we see things and the way that we view the world, everything comes through that lens. And so having the right mindset really does impact every single facet of your life. And I think that, the story that you're just sharing with us just totally embodies that.
Yeah. I'll also add that year, like the head coach of our team at Saddleback, Jack Hodges, made it a mission to impact his players, not necessarily in a faith or in a faith way, but just in a life way. And he had a quote of the week every week, and we had to memorize the quote. If at any point at practice he pointed at us, like, "Hey, what's the quote of the week?" If you couldn't tell him, you had to. He also ran a cycling class at this college. And it was brutal. Like straight up, like at a gym on one of those spin class.
Yeah.
And I only got sent to that once. Everyone else on the team got sent. But like, if you didn't have the quote, you had to go to spin class. So one of the quotes that I'll never forget was, those who say they can and those who say they can't are usually both right. Right. And it kind of all comes back down to like, if I truly believe, like, I can keep pressing on.
Yep.
You know, and I think that's overcoming adversity. That's in pursuit of success, right? Whether it be business, sports, like if you believe you can and you want to, like, your will is a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah. So talk to us, like, what were kind of the next steps? What happened next? You have this breakout season, you know, getting drafted by the Nationals. What did that look like moving forward? And, you know, for those that may not understand kind of, you know, what the process looks like of getting drafted as an MLB prospect, and then kind of what the, you know, next steps and next years looked like following that.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty surreal. And to this day, my uncle had recorded the live, like, as they went through the draft and they were saying names, he recorded the live moment where they said, you know, Rooney's drafted from Saddleback College. So it's kind of every once in a while, my kids will come across it on our playlist, like, Dad, this is the way you got drafted. So I was like, yeah, that's right. Dad was okay back in the day. Yeah. But, you know, yeah, it was pretty surreal. It was like, holy cow, like, this just became a reality. And, you know, we spent like a month trying to figure out, you know, contract stuff. And then next thing you know, I'm shipped off to Florida and in a locker room with a bunch of strangers. Right. But all after the same thing.
Yeah.
And now making, you know, baseball a job.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I did well, you know, like each year I felt like I was kind of climbing the ladder. And,
so do you start off on a single A team? Like, how does that kind of work? They bring you in to, like, work out together and you start getting different spots. Like, what is that process?
Well, so out of the usually if you're coming out of the draft, because the baseball season's already started, right? Spring training's back in February, March. And so if you come in the draft in June, which I think now it's in July, but if you come out of the draft, they just send you to a roster. And they have a couple of short season team options, which that's what the Boise Hawks, you know, used to be, as they were affiliated with the Cubs. They were like a short season team. So you can jump, so they'll throw you on one of those rosters. If you're a very, very high prospect, they'll send you straight to like a full season team, and you kind of show up halfway through the year and join up with those guys. So I wasn't quite that high on the prospect list yet. So I went to Florida and we played in the Gulf Coast League, which is also a short season team or season. And man, you want to talk about hot and humid. Yeah, I know like people like to think, oh man, you got to play pro ball. Like, that's all glamour. It's all amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Far from.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole new kind of grind that shows up. And from back then, the very little amount of pay you'd get, you know, month to month, to the kind of food that was available to you, from peanut butter and jellies when you showed up to the field, or after the game, it's like, where do you go eat now? You know? So,
and everyone that you're playing with, you're, you know, on the same team with, but you guys are all competing as prospects, and everyone's trying to, you know, work their way up. And everyone that you're playing with has been the best player on their team too, right? Like, the level of competition just gets higher. And so you're now playing with all these guys that are standouts from their different areas. And
absolutely. So it's like every moment is not just like, oh man, like I'm excited to finish out this season. And it doesn't, the whole quote I used to tell guys, like, hey, it doesn't matter about how you start, but how you finish. Like, well, actually, if you have a really, really bad start, especially on some of those minor league teams, and as they're looking at someone else to bring in the organization and pick up as a free agent, there were guys who like would come in from a morning meeting and go, I'm done. See ya. It's great to know you. And you're like, holy cow, we've kind of built a friendship here. And this guy's
business.
Yeah. This guy's gone, and there's a new guy in his locker the next day. So, you know, all those dynamics on top of, you know, the 17-hour bus rides up and down the East Coast. And I'm not a good sleeper in a car, in a vehicle. And I'm the one that's like sitting up there either watching movies on my laptop or like kind of just keeping an eye on the bus driver. And you start hearing, you're like, hey,
he's dozing off.
Bob,
Yeah.
Come on. Are you awake up there?
Yeah.
So, you know, it was a fun journey. And, you know, my wife and I ended up getting married young. So
I was going to ask if you guys were married by this point, like how that worked relationship wise.
Yeah. So she got to join me for my last season.
Okay.
And you know, it was so much fun, you know, as a young married couple. And the team, our AA team in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, there were a lot of other young married couples who also were like Christians. And so like we had a lot of really common things together. We did some Bible studies together. both like as couples, and then the guys, we did baseball chapel together. It was a really cool dynamic. But that was also a crazy year too, and she got a real taste of it because I started in AA that year, got bumped up to AAA, and then it's like, holy cow, sweet, like I'm that much closer. And then all of a sudden, same thing. There's waivers and roster moves, stuff that I just didn't you don't completely understand about the baseball world.
Yeah.
You just think you're there to play.
Yeah.
But they make decisions and roster changes from the front office every day that are so out of your control. And so we go to AAA for a week, and then it's like, boom, right back down to AA. So in that process, when you don't know how long you're going to be there, and you have a wife, and you're carrying everything you possibly can in your vehicle to live in an apartment, we pack everything up. We go up to Syracuse, right? And then next thing you know, you get bumped back down. So we're like, oh, okay, we pack everything up. We go back down to Harrisburg. And then a guy got hurt in high A ball, and so I ended up getting sent all the way back down to high A that year. So then we move again, right? As much as that was a frustration to move the opposite direction that year, that was actually one of the coolest experiences because our high A team ended up winning everything you could possibly win at that division. We won the Carolina League Championship, so it was a lot of fun to end up with goggles and champagne showers and cigars and, the whole nine that year.
Yeah. If you had to take one experience from your professional baseball experience, is there one in particular that stands out to you or that you feel like is kind of like one of those benchmark experiences or things that you hang on to that is still really impactful to you today?
Yeah. I would say, so it was my first spring training. So I got drafted as do a half season, right? And then I come back for spring training the next year. And I got invited to, advanced spring training. So that was something that prospects got to come in early. They want to spend extra time with you, get you ready to progress. Most guys out of spring training then, get sent to their full season clubs, right? And we had teams all up and down the East Coast, which included the big league team. The first year, I didn't get sent to a full season team. And I was just I was so disappointed. Same thing, all those thoughts like, what am I doing here? What the heck? And I was so sulky. I can look back and remember that I was an absolute wuss, crybaby, sulking in self-centeredness and poor me. That the whole concept of those who say they can, those who say they can't, wasn't living it in that moment. And the disappointment was real too. I don't want to say that being disappointed is not allowed. But so I was just wearing it. I was wearing it on my face, my attitude. And so one of the coaches came up to me, and I don't know if you grew up a Mariners fan, but his name is Darnell Coles.
Oh, yeah.
So DC, who's still a friend of mine today, texts me every morning a Bible verse, and is a great dude. But he just kind of came up to me. He's like, what are you doing, man? Just, it's okay. Trust the process. God's got you on a journey. This may not be what you were hoping for and expecting.
Like you got nothing to lose. Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just keep grinding. It'll be okay. And I promise you, if you wear that kind of attitude, people are going to see it.
Yeah.
People are going to see it. It's going to affect, whether they even want to keep you around. So that was a really good life lesson for me, as far as when things don't go my way.
Yeah.
How then to go, you know what? There's going to be another way, or what I thought is going to be different. So.
And most things in life aren't going to go your way. One of the things I do love about baseball is that, you can be a 300 batter and you're a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Right. And so it's you're literally failing 70% of the time, and you could still be considered one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And I think that analogy is powerful because, so many times you look oh, hey, Aaron Rodgers or Matt Stafford or Tom Brady or whoever, right? It's they went, 38 for 45 today, threw for 450 yards and 4 touchdowns. And it's okay, that's success, right? It's and 2 of them got dropped by their receivers, so they really only had 3 bad passes all game. They threw the ball 45 times.
Yeah.
And that's not really life, right? Most things aren't going to go your way in life, right? Most things don't just work out the first time you try. And so that is one of the things I do really love about baseball is that you get used to a sense of failure, right? You get used to striking out or getting thrown out. Okay, how are you going to deal with that?
Yep.
How are you going to deal with that? How do you deal with adversity?
Yep.
How do you deal when bad things happen? Because bad things are going to happen to everyone. And like just wait long enough and things are going to happen. And so learning to overcome that adversity, next play up, next time up, next, and learning that next play mentality, I think is, something that baseball in particular does a really good job of teaching you, right? I'm trying to learn it in golf. I keep getting my butt kicked by my son and his buddies out playing golf. And it's really frustrating to me, because obviously I used to be better than all these kids, and now they go use my country club membership all summer long, and now they're all better than me at golf. But you go make a bad shot and it's like, I'm not playing well, or I was playing so well and this happened. But just learning to overcome that adversity. And that's one of the things that sports can teach you, right? Because we all have to learn that in life. Like everyone has to learn that in life, because bad things are going to happen to you. And how do you overcome it? How do you deal with the challenges? Does your spouse and your kids take the brunt of that at the end of the day? Yeah. Like, just because something bad happened to you today, can you go change that? Can you flip it? Can you take that in perspective and say, you know what, like this is actually something I was able to learn from, and then go move forward in a good way? Is that, you know what, the only days I'm happy, only days dad comes home happy from work is when everything went perfect, which is almost never. Right. Yep. And so, learning to be able to overcome challenges and adversity, I think is one of the great things that sports can teach us.
Yep. Big time. Yeah. It's the game of baseball is where you can really, really grow in your ability to have a short memory and know that your performance is ultimately not what's supposed to dictate who you are.
Yeah.
So,
I want to rewind a little bit, going all the way back to like when you were a kid, and we talked briefly about kind of the club sports scene and how sports are different now, than they were like when we were growing up, and this pressure to specialize in one sport at such an early age, putting so much of their identity in a single sport. And some kids develop later than other kids. Some kids grow and they look like a man at age 11 or something. Other kids, look 11 when they're 15. Like, it's just different for everyone. Kind of tell us about like what your experience was like as a kid. Like, were you one of those early growers? Did you not grow till later? Did you have situations like where you were on a team and, weren't the star player? Like, what did that kind of look like for you growing up?
Yeah. I can look back. So I feel like as a younger kid growing up through Little League, having pretty good ability for my age, my dad always looked for opportunities for me to play up and be challenged by,
especially having an older brother that, makes it convenient.
Yeah. It's funny, actually, side note, like the stats on birth order professional athletes, I don't have them in front of me, or I don't remember them, but it's kind of interesting the way the further down the birth order, the higher opportunities there are, just because they've been pushed by older siblings.
For sure.
So it's funny there, but
which I always felt like was a massive advantage for me, because I have an older brother that's 2 years older, and my parents were busy. There were 5 kids in our family. My parents started a business, and I just remember being a little kid, my mom being like, "Yep, sorry, you're playing up on Jared's team because I can't run you guys different practices across town." And so like, okay. So I was just used from the time I was a little kid all the way up until I was like, when they started going to junior high, that I was always playing with kids that were 2 years older than me, right? Football, baseball, basketball, whatever. I was always getting stuck on teams 2 years older, and I hated it because I always sucked, right? Like, I was always the smallest kid on the team. They're like, oh, okay, you're going to bat at the end of the lineup. But eventually, like, as you start getting older and competing more, and, kind of that gap in physicality changes, like, that became a massive blessing to me, because then you're playing with kids your own age, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm used to playing with all these kids that are way older and stronger and bigger and more advanced than I am. And I actually look at it as a blessing, but I hated it at the time.
In the moment, 100%. And so I had a little bit of that early on in Little League years. And finally, when I got to like my 12-year-old year of Little League, all of a sudden I was playing now with kids my own age. And I just started having these, like, I just had absolute breakout year. I hit 26 bombs in 1 year.
Wow.
It also helped that, we got connected with former major leaguer Tim Wallach, still good friends with their family to this day. And he was one of the first people that, in a time where most coaches taught you to just kind of swing down, kind of get on top of the ball, was the technique. And then you try to create backspin, and like things have really shifted in here. But back then he was a guy who like talked to me. He's like, "Hey, Sean, if you do hit ground balls, how many of those are you going to beat out?" Because I wasn't a fast guy. I was like, "Not many." He's like, "Exactly. So, Sean, you need to swing up. You need to hit the ball in the air. You need to hit doubles and homers." And so we worked on it. And next thing you know, I'm just like hitting the ball in the air, and every ball I hit in the air was gone. So I was now like a kind of a stronger kid at the 12 U age. I wasn't like massively oversized. I couldn't say necessarily that it was, even like early puberty or anything like that. Although we start to see a lot of that. I mean, with my own son on a 12-year-old team this year, some of the competitors, it's like,
Kids have beards out there.
dude,
They got goatees.
coach. And it's like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Like,
Yes.
you sure this kid's not 18?
Yes,
Like, yeah.
exactly. So, and it's funny because if our goal in youth sports is solely the win, right? Then your goal in those transitional years for boys at least is, man, I'll get the biggest, strongest, fastest kids. Just because they're early bloomers doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the studs in 2-3 years. So it's a tough temptation for any of us that are a coach, or even a player in that environment.
Yeah.
If you're,
what do people associate your value as a coach with? How many games you win,
100%.
how many tournaments you win, right? So it's like, hey, if you're taking all these kids and pouring into them and building them and developing them, but this other coach is grabbing all the man children, it's like, oh, well, he goes and wins all these tournaments. He must be a much better coach, right? And I think that temptation is very, very real for a lot of coaches to fall into and to not develop kids and to only focus on, if you don't have a beard or a goatee, like, you're probably not going to play very much.
Yep, exactly. And my son is a perfect example. Lincoln is a late bloomer. He's still a smaller kid. I mean, he's an amazing athlete, and he gets it done on the field in a lot of ways. But he definitely feels frustrated when we're playing some of those teams and they're bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah.
But just having perspective that in just a few short years, like, you're going to be just fine, buddy. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So,
well, I was just going to ask you, what is your philosophy around coaching players, the kind of players that you try to draw to your teams, your organization, right? Like, there's more to it than just, okay, what is the kid able to do on the field? There's kind of the skill component, and then there's the trust component, right? Like how much do I trust this kid as a person, their family, situation? Are they going to create, unnecessary drama or other things like that? Like, what are the things that you take into consideration? And I guess kind of what are the pillars of your organization and what you try to accomplish as a coach?
Yeah. Well, so FCA as an organization, our mission is to lead every coach and athlete in a growing relationship with Jesus Christ and his church. The fact now that FCA has a club component is actually still new. So FCA's bread and butter has always been to create a what they call a huddle, a place where athletes on campuses interested in growing in their faith or learning about faith can gather. And it's not solely for athletes. If a non-athlete, they could too. But it's meant to use the club route in a public school campus to create a space for kids to grow in their faith. And so as of recently, when they adopted this concept of club, it's opened up all kinds of really cool doors, right? At the same time, our organization wasn't necessarily like built that way. So we've been navigating some things, and each area has been given some freedom to kind of create its own, identity under the umbrella of FCA.
Sure.
So here locally on the club side of things, we kind of have 3 focus areas. As I share, we just kind of are going through our tryout season, and I'm sharing with families that are interested in playing for FCA. It's faith, it's development, and it's competing to win. And in that order, right? That we want to see each of these boys, whether they're currently in a faith environment or a family's in a faith environment or not, like, we want to see you learn more and possibly start a bit of a journey in your faith. And then the second is the development. We want these kids to get better at the game that they play, right? And them to develop as young men. So it's hard. It's hard to keep that perspective if the wins aren't coming, right? We just kind of talk about that, but and then there is the competing to win. Like, we are in sports and we're in club sports, so it's meant to be a little bit more competitive.
Yeah,
it's your families are committed to more than just
they're spending a lot of money. They're spending their time.
Yep.
Yeah,
and they're committed to more than just the recreational. Hey, I just want to play baseball experience.
Yeah.
Which has its place, and I love rec ball. I mean, there's a lot of confrontation out there. That club sports has taken all the kids out of rec. Well, and the reality is rec can't provide that kind of experience for these
some
kids.
people only want to go practice once a week and play one game once a week. And
totally.
Other people that they want to be developing more and playing more, like, there needs to be an opportunity for both.
Exactly. So, Yeah, so that's kind of who we are, and so as we recruit coaches and I onboard coaches and interview, just have a lot of real upfront conversations, and I've learned over the years
Yeah.
that
Yeah. What does that look like?
yeah, so it's I've learned over the years that although I want to be able to compete to win, I want to develop athletes well. If the faith component is our number one priority, that we have to have Christian leaders. We have to have Christian leaders who are committed to their own faith so that they come equipped to pour into kids, right? I've made some decisions in the past about having great baseball guys who are so in their faith, and I've gotten now to the point where we as a organizational leader, you develop some procedures and some processes now. So the coach onboarding process is a little bit tougher now. As I sit across the table from a guy, I'll show him like some of the expectations, and now early on, wanting to grow so fast, like kind of getting a little tempted and trapped in that concept. I compromised in some of those decisions, right? But now it's almost like I'm okay with scaring you away. If this isn't for you and you're not going to represent Jesus well and you're not going to lead families well the right way, it's okay. Like
you're wearing this logo on your shirt, right? Like you represent something else.
Totally.
You represent our organization and what we stand for. And
and we're stepping into a club's, into an environment, and we're telling people like, hey, this is who we are. Like you have a whole
bigger bullseye on you.
Yes. Yeah. Bullseye is a word I use all the time.
You do.
You're under a microscope.
Yep.
Because people out there, just in their ignorance, may not have a really fair expectation for what, Christians are supposed to be like in sports, right? If they think that, they're supposed to be soft, they're supposed to be weak, they're not supposed to take somebody out in a double play, they're not supposed to like run a dude over if he's in the way, it's like we can compete hard in sports. It's okay to be frustrated by an official's call, but the way that we engage in a disagreement, really matters. So, even though we're trying to hit this target with our faith, our development, and competing to win, like we're falling short here and there, and we're not perfect. Yeah. And I think that's what some of the ignorance is out in the non-Christian world is like, oh, that guy's supposed to be perfect. It's like, no, man, I'm a sinner saved by grace. I'm a work in progress.
I'm trying to be like Jesus, but I'm not there yet.
Yes. That ain't never going to happen. So, but one step at a time.
There's a gap, right? And there's like this analogy of there's a gap between who all of us want to be and who we currently are. Yeah. And it's like, okay, how well are we minding that gap? Like how much are we trying to close that gap? How much like, okay, Jesus is the ultimate example to me. Like how much am I trying to close that gap? How much am I, trying to follow him? Because I heard this poem a number of years ago and it stuck with me. And, I think about it frequently. It kind of describes like some guy gets to the pearly gates and, is greeted there. And like this angel messenger says this poem to him. He says, the devil believes in Jesus and his angels do too. So tell me, my friend, what is the difference between the devil and you? And, like, as I thought about that, it's like, okay, a lot of people profess to believe in Jesus. A lot of people wear a cross, they'll say, hey, I'm a Christian, I believe in Jesus. They'll wear the, FCA badge or whatever. But it's like, what do your actions show?
Right.
Like, because what you really believe will be evident in the way that you act. Yep. Right? Like, it's part of who you are.
100%.
And if it's not part of who you are, you don't really believe it.
Yep. Absolutely. You were asked kind of earlier as you were asking me to describe the organization, some of the things, and you were talking about like families, like to be a part of our club organization, like you don't have to be a Christian, right? We're very upfront about like, but this is what you're getting. Yeah. Right. So
don't be surprised.
Yeah. And so same, like as we're going out and competing and we have some families that like don't know what it looks like to be in sports and to have some self-control when an umpire makes a bad call. Yeah. They're on a journey as well. And so that's all part of the process that I see as super valuable. Like I'm okay with some families that, have some things to learn about how to represent well. Yeah. Because if we're only taking the good, healthy Christian families that are, kind of always been in that bubble, then man, are we making progress? Yeah. So that's super important to me. And a lot of people just don't see that when they see a parent that's frustrated and impulsively reacts to something.
Yeah. I think the compete to win part, I think that most of us understand what that looks like. When you talk about the faith component and the development component, what do those look like in practicality for you guys? Like, what are the things that you guys do? Like, I've noticed in observing some FCA games over the years, like, being at a tournament or something and seeing an FCA team. It seems like I've seen like devotionals like happening like after a game or something.
Yep.
The team praying together, other things like that. Like, what are the kinds of things that you guys try to do to instill that faith component?
Yeah. Yeah. So on the faith component, it's two-part. It's discipleship. So within our team environment, every single kid gets an FCA Bible, which is an amazing resource. If anyone's out there looking for a cool resource for their kid who's an athlete to grow in their faith, I mean, there's so many tools inside that Bible on how to study the Bible and topical studies on adversity and excellence and failure. And then it ties it to scripture. It's really cool. So every kid gets that. Our coaches, the standard is that our coaches lead them in what we call a huddle at least once a week, right? And it's tough when you only have like a 2-hour practice and you're trying to get a ton of stuff done. Once a week, coach, press pause, have them open up God's word, and we're going to talk about what the Bible says and how we can apply it to life.
Yeah.
And we have, all kinds of cool ministry tools that we're, handing to coaches to make it so they don't have to be like a pastor who's showing up with a 5-point sermon, so we want to make it easy for them, like a plug and play kind of thing.
Yeah.
FCA has done an amazing job at a very high level developing resources that keep things very plug and play.
Yeah.
So the first part is discipleship.
Yeah.
And, I'll even add to that discipleship. It's also, of the coach. So we host coach huddles multiple times throughout the week. I ask all of our coaches to go. You have a couple to choose from. And that's a place where our coaches come together. We talk about, how to not compartmentalize sports and being a Christian, but to like, how we step out there and we represent. Like, that's who I am, right? And it's the same like in the business world. I mean, in life, that really, if I'm a Christ follower, if I'm on Team Jesus, like I'm supposed to start showing the fruit.
Yeah.
The actions of the fruit, the love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, all the fruits of the Spirit.
It doesn't take days off, right? It's
true.
It doesn't take business meetings off. It doesn't take deals off, right? It's like, hey, I'm going to follow Jesus most of the time, but I have this opportunity to, do someone else dirty on this business deal, and so I'm going to take it. It's
right.
No, like that doesn't happen.
Yep. Yeah. And God will bless that. So there's the discipleship of players, the discipleship of coaches. And then the other is evangelical, right? So we are out in the community. We invite opposing teams to pray with us at home plate. And for the most part, we get really cool, like, response.
Yeah.
I try to have our coaches tell them before the game that, hey, we'd love to pray with you guys afterwards, so that, if we end up beating them really bad, they're not like, we don't want to pray with you guys, or vice versa. Yeah. So that's been a really cool thing. And you see, I've been stopped on the way to the parking lot by opposing families and just go, hey, thanks for doing that. Like, really cool. My kid gets to just pause and give God glory for everything that happened out here and be reminded like why he's out here. So that's been really fun.
No, I love that. Let's talk about the development piece. Like, what is the emphasis that you guys put on development? What are the things that you guys do that way? We have a sign hanging right outside the door coming into the podcast studio here from Spencer Danielson, good friend of mine. Obviously, like, very outspoken disciple of Christ, and wears his faith on his sleeve and is very, open about his beliefs. And that's one of the things that I love most about him. But they have the term at Boise State that they use, saying being built different, and it's doing common things in an uncommon way, right? Everyone trains, everyone lifts weights, everyone watches film, everyone prepares. But like, what are you doing to do it differently, right? And so that's something that we try to use a lot in our organizations, is to say, like, what are we doing differently than other people? Like, everyone has the same goal. Everyone wants to win, but what are you doing to get there? Like, what are you doing to develop? What are you doing to attract people to come to your organization? So I guess come on the development component, what are the things that you guys do that you would maybe call unique?
Yeah. Well, as I was kind of sharing earlier, that as I'm onboarding coaches, right, and faith is the number one component, I've learned that I may have to compromise on a potential coach as far as their knowledge of the game, right? Their ability to like manage and compete to win for the faith component. And I would much rather be in a position where we have this number one priority working well, and then we help coach them up on the others. So that's kind of where our focus has become as far as development, right? Constantly pushing content to our coaches, and then even to our families, helping them understand, hey, T drills and these things. Man, there's also just so many resources out there today Now, not every drill you find on YouTube is good, but as I recruit coaches, I just say, hey, listen, like the first thing that I ask for of our coaches, and I feel like is the foundational characteristic to being a Christ follower, is being humble and having a growth mindset. So I said, we're going to have some coaches clinics in which I would like, and some of my baseball and softball relationships, like we would like to help equip and empower our coaches better.
Yeah.
So I need to make sure that there's participation there. So when it comes to the development, man, we've created a really cool FCA Wave resource. All of our coaches have now. There's QR code videos that take them to drills that are explained. So once again, trying to make it easier for guys who might be like,
and technology can be a total blessing when it comes to stuff like this, right? Like being able to disseminate knowledge and information, being able to, communicate and to coach up and to empower people. But yeah, having that growth mindset of people being humble and willing enough to put in the time and effort to learn and continue to grow. Like I'm a firm believer, you can teach anyone pretty much any technical skill.
Yeah.
Right. But it's very difficult to teach a mindset. It's very difficult to teach character. And, if those sorts of things aren't already embodied in a person, that's almost impossible to get there. It's like, I can teach you any skill that you need to know, but what kind of person are you?
Actually, that reminds me of one of the books that I've really enjoyed. I think that's challenged me when I go to onboard a coach or recruit a coach. And it's a Patrick Lencioni book. It's Humble, Hungry, Smart, right? The Ideal Team Player.
Yeah.
And so he just breaks those three concepts down. Like if you're looking for someone, they may not be perfect, but these are three key characteristics, that they be humble, that they be hungry, that they're driven, that they're motivated, and then that they be smart. And smart not necessarily be that they've got a crazy awesome IQ, but smart enough to know, relational situations.
Can I align with the values of the organization?
That, and it's like, should I say this right now or should I not? Am I going to cause, problems or am I not? So anyways, it's been a really cool one. So
no, that's awesome. Just as we kind of conclude here, if you had to share like with people that don't know anything about FCA or people that are, considering or looking for a new place to bring their kids or consider, like what would be your, I guess, in a way, kind of pitch or elevator, sharing episode to share with them, like, here's who we are, here's what we believe in, and here's what it's going to do for your kids.
Yeah. I think when I share about why I do FCA, why I'm on staff with FCA and leading a club program, it ultimately goes back to who I was, and I needed this, right? Like, I had some really great coaches growing up. I had some not so great coaches growing up, but man, if I had coaches that were pointing me to a firm foundation, right, for life, that being Jesus, right? Like building a house on a rock, I just wonder how many knucklehead decisions I would have avoided, right? Like, even though I grew up in a Christian environment, but coach, man, Billy Graham said that a coach has more influence in 1 year than most people do in a lifetime. So like the influence that happens in sports between coach and players is huge and it's powerful. And so if a coach is someone who's telling kids that, hey man, like your performance today is important, but your relationship with Jesus is even more important, right? Like study his word, chew on that, pursue growth in your relationship with Christ. If those things, if that was pointed out to me, I just kind of wonder how much different things could have gone. Yeah. So that's my pitch to parents and to families is, man, at the end of it, right? And even I got to play at the professional level, the jersey came off.
Yeah.
I am just another dude. And so if I'm too wrapped up in that identity and performance and I'm a baseball player rather than just like, man, I'm a child of God with a purpose, then it's very, very hard.
Well, and that was going to kind of lead me to one of the last things I want to touch on with you. They're saying that at the end of the day, the ball's out, it's bouncing for everyone, right? Using basketball analogy, but like baseball, right? At some point, the glove comes off and it's off, right? Like the helmet comes off and it's off, whatever it is. How did you deal with that in baseball being such a big part of your life for so long? Obviously, it sounds like, you were developing your faith and developing as a person, so you were better equipped to handle that. But what was that like for you? I'm sure at some point, at some level, that still had to be difficult. Yeah. And, to have something be such a big part of your life for so long that all of a sudden it's not, and having that identity and kind of taking those next steps forward.
Yeah.
What did that look like for you?
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned, like as I was growing as a person, that better prepared me. But I think experiencing, life change and adversity and tragedy, you know, before that happened, gave me far greater perspective on life. So I lost my dad and my older brother
Yeah, if you don't mind,
in
if
a
we,
plane
yeah,
crash in January 2009. Man, I was engaged. We were going to get married in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. My family had a place up there, and it's beautiful and scenic. And so my wife just were like, "This is where we want to get married." And so my dad was a private pilot. We had a plane, and I was like 15 hours into my pilot's license. My older brother was, and so we had some really cool adventures with dad. Having a plane and being able to avoid all the commercial airports.
yeah.
And they were flying out of Colorado one day, and the plane went down. And actually, my wife and I were at a wedding in Texas at the time. I got a call, and it's the worst call you could ever get. That both just in a moment, my dad and brother were both gone, and really, really, rubber really meets the road when it comes to what's important to us in life, and when something really hard hits, how what are we gonna stand on? So, in when that all happened, and this kind of like really projected my faith in a whole new level, because death became very real at a very close range,
Yeah.
and trauma and tragedy. I mean, it was really hard.
How old were you at the time,
I was
approximately?
22.
Okay.
Yeah, 21, 22.
Yeah.
So it's been a little bit, but yeah, we just decided, like, as kind of we had all been kind of slowly growing in our faith as a family, me, my mom, and my younger brother, that we're like, man, if Jesus' promises are true, right, then that's kind of the only place we can really go for hope,
Yeah.
because everything feels really hopeless right now. These two amazing characters in our life gone. Like, family pictures will never be the same, or the story in the newspaper. Um, so it was really hard.
What do you feel like you were able to do to get through that? Like what changed in your daily life
Yeah,
after that?
man. When you're in it, you're just kind of trying to take it one step at a time.
This is your dad, this is your big brother.
Yeah, and you wake up. I mean, I remember waking up mornings after this tragedy, going like, "Was that a dream?
This can't be real.
No, this is reality. This is my new reality."
Yeah.
Like, everything we had talked about potentially in life with dad and Patrick, and my older brother had a 1-year-old baby boy. She was pregnant with number two. Like, the dynamics were just crazy. My wife and I, my fiance and I at the time, like, we were supposed to get married in the next 6 months. So all of the bliss wedding planning, like, so many things that we just take for granted
Yeah.
in life, that is just when, when the rubber meets the road, we live such busy lives. Like, the only thing that really matters is our relationship with the Lord and the relationship with people, period. Because, and even when Jesus was asked, like, "Hey, Jesus, what's the greatest command?" "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." Period. And it's hard to do,
It
because
is
we're in a consuming world with
easy to
so many
say, hard to
distractions.
do.
Yeah. So that was big perspective for me, that ultimately made leaving baseball far, like, um, easier probably
Yeah.
than most people, because I had visions of, like, man, baseball is meaningless in light of stuff like this.
Yeah.
And so God kind of then began my journey toward ministry, as I started, like, sharing my story and using the platform of being a former pro athlete to kids at high schools, and sharing who Jesus is and that they need Jesus, and going like, "Hey, who wants to join the team?" And seeing half of a gym stand up. I mean, it was like, whoa. I was starting to feel like I was part of something greater than anything I'd accomplished in baseball. And I mean, I had some really cool walk-off wins in front of 10,000 fans, and home runs with fireworks on 4th of July. It was just like, man, in that moment, you're like, man, I'm really doing it. This is
Yeah. I'm
awesome.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I got to tasting this real joy that was like, this is way bigger than anything I've done on the baseball field. It was like, this is true purpose.
Yeah.
And so that kind of set me.
All those other things leave. This is the one thing that stays constant.
Yeah. So it was real hard, but I also just go, man, God has led me on this really cool journey.
How do,
And
how do you feel like that's impacted you as a husband and as a father? Like, obviously you have 4 kids of your own now.
yeah.
Like, how do you feel like having lived through the death of your dad and your older brother has impacted the way that you are as a dad.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, in some ways, I'm so thankful for the dad I had, because my dad was a really engaged dad, even though he's running a business and he's doing real estate deals left and right. Like, he was really engaged, and helping out, taking me to practices. And now that I'm a dad, I just go like, man, I wonder some of the stress that he felt being a grown up and adult. But it's kind of just to have someone that was a solid leader in my life like that as dad. It's kind of been this really cool, I don't know, encouragement and challenge to be like, man, like I had a great dad and I want to be like that for my kids.
Yeah.
Um, I want to try and live humbly and real with my kids. There's gonna be days where I snap on them because their behavior is not perfect in my mind.
Yeah.
Right. And there's days that I snap and go, but I want to be a dad who comes back and goes, hey, sorry, I'm not justifying the way you're acting, but I got to do better in how I lead you as a dad. So I don't want my kids to get, especially as like a ministry leader, I don't want my kids to get this false thought about like, oh, well, my dad's like a ministry leader and he loves Jesus, but I see a lot of imperfect in him.
He's this way everywhere else, but he's this way at home.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't want them at the end of the day to think that I'm their ultimate leader. I want them to know that Jesus is their ultimate leader. I'm still going to let them down in ways as dad.
Yeah.
But man, like there's nothing far greater than putting your hope in Jesus, because even your dad can let you down.
Yeah.
And even dad might be gone. So maybe that's kind of some of the things I've really learned through this process.
Well, I think that one of the things that, getting to be a father does for you is that it helps you to see Jesus, and hopefully that your family gets to see Jesus through you.
Yeah.
Right? Like Jesus is the ultimate leader, and the more that we try to embody him and his characteristics and his character, that the closer that aligns, our kids are able to see Jesus through us. Yeah. Right. And so I think that's a responsibility that every dad should take very seriously, is that your kids' view of God is largely formed by their view of you.
Yeah.
And so like trying to be that type of leader, and obviously we're all going to mess up. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to, snap and, say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. But even being humble enough to come back and ask for forgiveness, coming back and talking to our kids and having that meekness and that gentleness and that kindness and that patience, and coming back, and when we do make a mistake, do we make it right? Like, not that we're going to be like Jesus in every way, but Jesus tells us to be kind, tells us to be forgiving, tells us to be humble, tells us to ask for forgiveness, to make peace. And so all of those kinds of things should be getting exemplified through us, right? And your home is going to become the place. Like every organization takes on the personality of its leader. And so hopefully like taking that responsibility as a husband and a father seriously, to say, like I'm the one that's responsible for the spirit in my home.
Yep.
I'm the one that's responsible for, if we pray, if we study scriptures together, if we're spending meaningful time as a family, the kind of things that we allow in our home, the kind of things we engage in, like that's my responsibility as a dad, to like set that tone and to make sure like I'm protector of this house. This is what I've been entrusted with, and I'm going to, lead my family, teach my family, and exemplify to my family the best I can to help them to follow Jesus. So,
Amen.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, I'd say the major catalytic bonus through all of this and this journey is my teammate, is my wife, who, she and I talk about this frequently, right? And you're kind of getting on it to be that good quality leader of our family, like as men, like we got to be getting poured into.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just come out of nowhere. That means I got to set a time aside to be in a relationship with Jesus. Like I call it my coffee meeting with Jesus every morning. Right. So I'll open up his word. I'll have some quiet time. Phone's got to be away because it's a distraction.
Distractions.
But then having my teammate, my wife, who, like, our ability to have public influence is based on our ability to have a private and healthy relationship and marriage. So, like who we are as a couple, ultimately, and me as a man, kind of really helps dictate the direction of our family and our kids being able to see what healthy relationships look like.
Yep.
So
100%. Like your kids will find what is normal in their own house.
Yeah.
Like if they see their parents fighting and arguing all the time, that'll become normal to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll largely seek into or fall into relationships that, mirror that. if they see a dad who opens the door for his wife, that treats her with kindness, that, you know, shows respect and leads out and is a strong, capable, healthy, masculine figure in their life, like that's what they're gonna seek out and find. Right. So
More's caught than taught.
yes, 100%. Love that. Well, Sean, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. If people want to find you, connect with your organization, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, fcasportsidaho.org or just fcaidaho.org. Either of those websites will get you to just my information. And super thankful for being on, Kam. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Sean.